While the friends and family of Evan celebrate his safe return, so too is his work family at the Wall Street Journal. They've been among the loudest and strongest voices calling for his release from day one, insisting that he was wrongfully imprisoned and defending his journalistic integrity. So for them, last night was also an emotional moment. I'm joined now by Paul Beckett, assistant editor at the Wall Street Journal, to share his thoughts and feelings about seeing Evan step off that plane. Paul, so great to have you with us tonight. You've been working behind the scenes pretty much full-time over the last 9 months or so, trying to get Evan's release finalized. What was that moment like yesterday when you saw him step out onto the tarmac? What did you feel personally?
Extraordinary smiles of joy, tears of relief, exhilaration, excitement, all at the same time. And that was just in the Journal newsroom. We were, who knows what it was like for Evan and his family to be there. We weren't sure up until the moment we knew his feet were on the tarmac in Ankara and he was out of the custody of Russian officials, that he was free. So we waited until we knew that moment had come. And then we published the story and then we celebrated.
Obviously, so much goes into a negotiated deal like yesterday. What went on behind the scenes on your end, trying to keep Evan front of mind for officials here in the U.S., trying to make sure that those conversations were happening?
The goal was always to try and create a landscape on which successful negotiations could happen. We're very grateful to the Biden administration and all the other governments involved for doing the negotiating and getting the deal done. That's huge, obviously, but we always felt it was so important that Evan not be forgotten. And the Wall Street Journal newsroom rose up in support of him, but so did so many other news organizations, including your own, and so many well-wishers around the world. That's what created the momentum, that created the environment in which we could be successful. And we're, again, so grateful to President Biden, Jake Sullivan, Tony Blinken, Roger Carstens, all the people that spent 60 months trying to figure this out, and they did it yesterday.
It's impossible to have the conversations about Evan's capture and his release without looking at the broader impact on journalism as a whole, right? And it's what we do here. I want to get into this a bit. As a journalist yourself, what do you believe is the impact of situations like Evan's on other reporters, even on Evan wanting to go back and cover Russia at all?
Well, part of the reason he was taken and they chose him, I think, was not just because he was a high-profile American, but because it had a chilling effect on other news outlets and on reporting the news in Russia, which I think exactly what the Kremlin wanted. They knew perfectly well he's not a spy. That became very clear over the course of their farcical trial. So, you look at it and say, journalists have to be in these places, but we have to find ways of protecting them and ensuring that this doesn't happen. And I think, broadly speaking, both for journalists and for others who may be operating in dangerous environments, I think the U.S. government's goal now is going to be work with the allies to find a way to stop this detestable practice of hostage diplomacy. There are still Americans, not journalists, but there are still Americans in Russia, and the U.S. government will now work, I'm sure, to try and get them out. But they have to find a way to stop this cycle, which affects journalists and everyone else when they get nabbed for no reason and then treated as pawns.
It was so striking to see Evan put in his release papers a request to interview President Putin. I'm curious, one, do you think that goes anywhere? And two, if that were to be granted, what would that look like? I cannot imagine Evan wanting to go back on Russian soil. Perhaps he does.
No, balls in Putin's court for once. So let's see what if anything comes of it. It just showed what a reporter Evan is. It was funny last night when he landed on the tarmac and he obviously greeted first the vice president and then the president and then his wonderful family. And then he walked over to the cameras and he said two things that jumped out at me. First was his concern for the political prisoners who were still in Russia. He'd met a bunch of them while he himself was in prison, and he hoped that we could do something to help them. And then the second was that, as part of the swap, there was this assassin sent back to Russia from Germany called Vadim Krasikov. And Evan was like, I was hoping to interview Krasikov. the planes didn't line up on the tarmac in a way that could happen. So, always a reporter, and we look forward to welcoming him back to the newsroom when he's ready.
A consummate professional, even through all that he's been through. And to you, congratulations on this effort. Paul Beckett, thank you so much.
Thanks for all the support. You guys have been great.